Hello students, in the previous class we just discussed about the conditions and where the portrait has to be put off and what is the wish of a patron. So let's see what would be the further of the lesson. So patron was feeling very strange enough about the condition of the master artist. So let's see what happens in the further of the lesson. So I'll be going through the lesson now. Please follow it up. This is strange, thought the patron, but he also thought about how highly the artist had been recommended. So the artist was being recommended by many people. So that's the reason he just sent words to master artist for painting up Bertolli's portrait, where he wished to put on his banquet wall. Of course, he said, anything you wish. So we will be agreeing for what all the conditions you have been put, but at last we need the portrait to be put onto my banquet hall, the wall of my banquet wall. But I insist at least upon paying you something for your effort. Bratauli was very genuine person and a gentleman. He just don't want to provide him just a food and a bed, but he also wanted to pay something for his effort. We are talking about Bratagli's portrait, which will be painted by the master artist of the day, that is Monsieur Signy A. Abi. So let's draw up a contract. So Bratauli agreed for all his conditions, and now they are ready to draw up a contract. Draw up a contract, it is nothing but signing up their contract. So after that, now a glint came to Monsieur A. Abi's eyes as he gazed upon the 20 feet wall and thought of the space, such a wonderful space to give imagination wings. So now Abe's eyes had a glint. Glint, it is nothing but a small flash of a light where it came in front of his eyes, and he can all imagine the varieties and whatever the special skills he had to put up in the portrait. So he just started to gaze. It is nothing but to observe the 20 feet wall and thought of all the space where he can put all his imagination a wings. Because unknown to Signor Bertauli or anyone else for that matter, for all his career of 45 years. So by this we have to understand that overall he had 45 years of experience in his profession. So this was not known by anybody, not even by the patron and not by anybody else. Monsieur Abi had earned to paint in his own way. So he don't copy the others pattern of painting, but he has in his own way and skills of painting. And what way was that? Certainly it would not be the styles whatever we will be learning further. So he's just introducing us the new styles of the art which was introduced, that is, it may be not certainly the style of Byzantine or the Proto Renaissance. Byzantine and Proto Renaissance are the style of art which was very popular in Eastern Roman and even in North Italy. And then Monsieur Signy Abbé had hungered to break free of restraints. Restraints means restrictions. So he minded and he wanted to give up a wings for his imagination. He was not at all liked by the restricted form of painting. And further, but the guild, his craft and livelihood, would never have allowed it to be followed their rules, although he was never proud of it. Of course, he did not reveal this to Signor Bertolli. So he has faced many of the problems where he had a restrictions that a certain or a particular art has to be followed in the painting. They had an organization where a group of members would monitor the artisans. Artisans are the fellows who are very skilled enough in a particular art. A guild was restricting the activities and a particular pattern of painting to be done by the painters or the artists. So he was totally against of that guild's rules and regulations, which was helpful for his livelihood and even give up a skillful craft. And then these things was not revealed to Signor Bertolli. So these things were kept in the mind and the heart of Monsieur Signy Abbey. And then later, signing up the contract, they sealed the agreement. So they have agreed for each and every rules and the conditions put by the artist, and they signed the contract and sealed them. And in the further, immediately the master artist threw a high curtain in front of the wall. So we should all remember that he had a very important condition to paint up his portrait, that nobody should see the portrait until it is complete. So for that reason, he just threw, it is the past tense of the word throw. So he just threw a high curtain in front of the wall so that he can start up his portrait painting. A curtain through which Signor Bertolli could not see at all. Not even Signor Bertolli, but nobody were allowed to see the portrait. He tried to peek. He was very curious to see up his portrait, but he was not allowed to see the portrait. But Monsieur Abbey insisted on total privacy for his artistic techniques. So he don't want anybody to see the portrait until it is completed. So the process was going on. A week passed. A week passed. How is it coming along? Asked the hopeful Signor Bertolli. So he was very curious to see up his portrait, and he just asked after a week how it is coming along. What is the progress of my portrait? So for that, Monsieur Abbe is answering from where? From behind the curtain itself, answering him from behind the curtain. Monsieur Abbe said, it's coming along quite well. You know, at the age of 8, I was apprentice to great Ambriago Lorenzenti. I could never dishonor his name. So he just answered from behind the curtain itself to Bertolli that the portrait is coming quite well, and he just shared up his experience when he was at the age of 8. He was an apprentice. Apprentice is a person who works for an employer just for learning the skills. What is the name of the popular painter? He just got all the skills learned, that is Ambriago Lorenzenti. So he just promising himself that I will be giving up you a masterpiece. So I won't be dishonoring his name. I'll just keep up his work. So this is what the promise he had made himself, and also made a trustworthy note for Bertolli. And later on, he taught me the art of grinding pigment. So in the next lines, we will be learning what kind of skills have been learned by uh, Monsieur de Abbey. So, and then later, so what did he share to Bertolli? So let's see in the further lines. As of he has learned grinding pigment. Pigment, it is nothing but, according to this context, it refers to the color, that is powdered color, and how it has to be mixed off. So this is the meaning of the word grinding pigment. Pigment, it is nothing but a color. It refers to the color. So grinding pigments and colored powder, which should be mixed in what consistency for producing or which produces a paint. laying plaster, sometimes slowly and sometimes faster. So by him, he has learned all the skills and the techniques which brings out the masterpiece of the portrait or whatever the painting he will be doing. He taught me how to draw and most important, not to hurry. So he taught me all the skills, all the things which helps him to draw up, and most importantly, not to make any urgency. Then Signor Bertolli, a masterpiece takes a while at least. So he is just telling out to Signor Bertolli that a masterpiece takes a while. We need much more time to complete the portrait. For that, Bertolli also agreed. Agreed. They need much more time, and with lots of patience he had to do. So going further of the lesson, that reluctantly, so he was very much unknowingly, he just agreed all the conditions, and he was very patiently going with all the words which were shared by Abe. Then later, reluctantly, Signor Bertolli withdrew all his conversation, and whatever the command or the conversation was just going on between Bratauli and Monsieur Signy Abbé. So it was being withdrawn by Bratauli very reluctantly, which is unwillingly. He just withdrew the conversation. He just don't want to go further. And then later, a month passed. It was past of 1 month. Again, he just wanted to know what was the progress of the portrait. How is it coming along? Signor Bertolli asked. So he just asked how it is coming along. He just can't wait to see up his finished portrait. He was very curious to see his own portrait. Then for that, Abbé answered, "It's coming along nice," said Monsieur Abbé. Again, from behind the curtain. So from behind the curtain itself, he just answered. Along with his words came the strange sound of whooshing, clacking, and slapping. So behind the curtain itself, he just answered for all the questions of Bratauli, and by making the sounds of whooshing, clanking, and slapping. So these are the things which was created by master artist, where he had to build up a trustful thing and the situation to Bratauli. And let's continue in the next class what happens for this.